H.L. Hollingsworth, in his book Psychology of an Audience, defines different types of audiences. Public speakers must know what kind of audience they are generally addressing. Each of these 5 kinds requires something different from a speaker. The 5 kinds are pedestrians, passives, selected, concerted, and organized. Pedestrian audiences are not together. They are strangers, not connected to you or to each other. They have no reason to listen to you. Pedestrian audiences would include a crowd on the street, strangers at a bus stop, people walking by a street preacher, or potential viewers of a YouTube video. To speak to a pedestrian audience, you must first gain their attention. You must stand out and above them so you can be seen. When people see you, they form a crowd of listeners. Then you can tell them what is on your mind. You must be willing to attract their attention to you. You cannot ignore their indifference. You must stand up and be noticed, and then they will say, "Who is that guy?" Just one step up from the pedestrian audience is the passive audience. The passive audience is usually a captive audience. They are not there to hear you. They're there for some other reason. They have to be there, but they don't necessarily want to be there. A lot of people in church are there as a captive audience. They're enduring you more than listening to you. This captive audience or passive audience includes after-dinner speeches, prayers at ball games, classroom lessons. Middle school youth groups often feel like they're passive audiences. To reach a passive audience, the speaker must gain their interest, not just their attention, but their interest. They will listen or can listen, but they give up quickly if they're not interested in what you're saying. You must hold their interest so you can get across the message that you're making. Their distracted thoughts are your biggest competition. The passive audience is saying, "What's he saying? Who cares? Pass the chicken." Selected audiences. In selected audiences, you already have their interest, but you do not necessarily have their agreement. Selected audiences may either agree or disagree with what you are trying to say. Examples of selected audiences include church congregations where people think for themselves. Don't always expect that the people in the pew are going to agree with the pastor in the pulpit. Congress is a beautiful example of a selected audience. Divided political conventions where real issues are at stake, or college youth groups frequently are questioning what you say. To influence a selected audience, you have to make an impression. You must stand out and make a difference in a crowd. You must have your facts straight because they will be challenged, and you must be persuasive in what you say. You must help them to see things your way. They will say to you, "Prove it." But after you're finished, they will say, "Wow, I never thought of that." Concerted audiences are gathered together for a specific, unified purpose. They are not necessarily on fire for what they're doing, but they're willing to be on fire if everything goes all right. Examples of concerted audiences include preparation team for a political convention. A healthy, harmonious church is a concerted audience. Or the church leadership that is getting ready to do the work of the church. They're also a concerted audience. For a concerted audience, you, the speaker, must cultivate their conviction. Now, they're not necessarily on fire for what they're doing, but they're ready to be set on fire if you can. They're looking for you to give them a spark that will give them going. They're looking for you to motivate them to do their best. They want to know that what they're doing is going to be worth it in the end. Now, the last group is the organized audiences, and they are the easiest and the most difficult to handle. Organized audiences are already on fire. They just need to know what to do. They are looking for you to give them marching orders. Examples of organized audiences include an angry mob, a church crowd after a revival, a football team running out on the field ready to play. An army at war is an organized audience. To organized audiences, it's up to you to give them specific directions. The audience is looking to you to tell them what to do next. Without some direction, their enthusiasm will cool and they will lose interest. Or you are responsible for making sure that they're pointed in the right direction, or else they could run themselves over a cliff. Here's an example of that. See these people charging over the hill? I must catch them. I am their leader. Now, why are these 5 types of audiences important to know? It's very simple, so we can speak to the right one. If we are overestimating the attention of our audience, we will not be well received. If we think our audience is more interested in what we are saying than they really are, then our directions will fall on deaf ears. On the other hand, if we underestimate the attention of our audience, we will also lose their interest. When people are ready to march, they want to know where to go. They don't need to be motivated more. Too much motivation without direction, and the people just become tired of marching in place. But when we are in sync with our audience, music happens. So let's go out there and make some music.